Hi friends, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Tammy Ernest for those of you who are new, and I am a long arm quilter, and you're in my studio here. So I welcome you in if you are new. Thanks for being here. I enjoy showing customer finishes, which is what I have stacked up here on the long arm, as well as my own personal quilting projects, and so that's what my channel is all about, and I'm so glad you're here today. So I'm going to start out with some personal sewing that I've gotten done this week. I have worked on my temperature quilt. So we are in the first week of July, which means I can finish up my June block, and I have done that. Let me show you the pattern first of all. This is a free pattern by the Fat Quarter Shop, and a temperature quilt is where you are recording the temperature in your area through fabric. So I have chosen to do the high temperature for each day. You could do a low temperature, you could do an average temperature, whatever you would like. I'm doing the high temperature for Indiana each day of the year, and I have 6 months done already. Can you believe we're 6 months through the year? It's just crazy. So the pattern suggests using Bella solids, and there is a chart inside the pattern that shows you all of the SKU numbers for those solids. I instead chose Essex linen, and I have put my fabric swatches down below so that I can match up those. Then I go to a government weather site on the internet and just look up the high temperature. It's very easy to find. It lists the high temperature for the day, as long as lots of other weather statistics. I'm only interested in the high temperature. And then I choose the correct fabric swatch that includes that range of temperatures. So let me show you. I've actually already put this into, let me just show you the June block first, and then I'll show you the rest. So here is my June block. So noticing on my chart, the oranges, the little bit of mustard, the little darker orange there, those are all temperatures in the mid to high 80s. And then as you get into the pinks, we're getting into the high 80s at that point, almost near 90. And then there's just a very subtle difference. So this is the pinks, this is 86 to 90 degrees. And then you have this little darker of a pink, and that's where we're getting above 90. So we had 5 days in June that were above 90 degrees. So lots of pinks, and so this is just temperatures. It doesn't show you cloudy, sunny, that kind of thing. That would be a fun quilt as well, wouldn't it? To track sunny days, partly sunny, cloudy, windy. I don't know, that might be a fun temperature. It wouldn't be called a temperature quilt then. I guess it'd be called a weather quilt. I will go back later and add in, obviously down here at the bottom, I would have my daughter's wedding, and so I will add in a little heart or something at that point just to mark our family events that have occurred this year in each one of the houses, but I will do that at a later point. So I did, because I had 6 months completed, I went ahead and put it all together, the first 2 rows. So starts January, February, and March. Notice if there's a 31st day, then you have the little tree next to it. I love that. And then April, May, and June. So fun. All right. But I made a mistake when I joined the blocks together. Do you see a mistake? What I did not, I was in such haste to put the 2 rows together that I failed to look and see that there is, you can't see it so much on this printout, but on the instructions there is a row of white sashing that goes between the 2 rows. So I am going to have to pick these 2 rows out and just insert that row of sashing, because obviously, you know, otherwise the houses are right on top of each other, and I don't want that. I need to make it look more like a neighborhood where you've got a little bit of space between the houses. So anyway, I love this. It's really coming together. I am enjoying working on that, and that is my personal sewing for this week. Let's move on to some customer quilts. My first quilt today is from Sara, and I love the colors of this quilt. This is just very soft and soothing. I love it. So you've got the darker grays and the lighter blues pieced with the yellow, and I just love it. This is called Honey Bloom. The fabric line is called Honey Bloom. The fabric line is called Honey Bloom, and that is put out by Moda. And then Sara said these are all hourglass units. You can see the square here. So she's just paired different fabrics together, and then she created her own pleasing pattern. So the design itself is just an original design, all with hourglass units. And then she has added a couple of borders. She's got a light white border and then the blue around the edge. Now you notice the binding is attached. I am doing the binding for Sara as well, and I have attached it to the front, but I still need to sew it down to the back, so I'll be getting that done in the next day and then out to Sara very soon. And I love the binding. I love the binding. I love doing a gingham. I think it adds a lot of interest on the edge of it. It's just so pretty because there is no gingham in the rest of the quilt. So she really has just added that, but the gray is in the quilt. So she's really just added that. I really like that on the edge. The backing, let me show you the backing because she did all kinds of a pieced backing here. Let me flip this over so you can see the backing. So for the backing, she has taken lots of fabrics from the front, and just there's some large pieces here, some more blocks here. The bottom has a little bit more of rectangles. She's done a nice job of piecing a backing together. Even look, she chose some of the extra hourglass blocks and put those on one edge here. So a nice way of just, it's just kind of a random pattern. It's not anything specific, but it's very pleasing to the eye. It looks really pretty. I have no trouble with a pieced backing on the back of your quilts. It does need to be larger than the quilt top. I asked for 4 inches larger on every side. And so if you are wanting somehow it's centered on a certain part of your backing, you need to provide that extra material around the edge, and then I can try to center it in. Don't make your quilt backing the exact same size as your quilt top and then just add. So what I want to say is, so say this was Sara's backing, and she wanted her quilt, she measured this backing the exact same size as the quilt top, and then but she knows I need 4 inches. This isn't what she did, I'm just using an example. But say that she created this piece backing the exact same size as the quilt top, and then she just added 4 inches on all around the edges so that I would have an extra amount. Most likely you're still going to see some of those edges when I finish the quilt, because when I load this on the backing, or I load this when I load this on the long arm and then I put the quilt top on, because on long arm quilting, because we're stretching things, I mean, you're making it taut. We don't want any ripples. We don't want any of that. We are stretching it taut. I do find that your quilt top will stretch just a tad bit, and so if you make the backing the exact same size as the quilt top, I am going to run over into some of those the outlying strips if you add that on. So I would encourage you, even doing a piece backing like this, make it larger. Make your squares so that it measures out much larger, at least 4 inches on every side. And then if I go a little bit farther into that 4 inches, you're not going to have those strips of extra fabric. You're actually going to have the pieced backing. So just make that piece backing larger than your quilt top. I do find with quilt tops, especially the more seams are in a quilt top, the more it's going to stretch. And I'm not talking a huge amount, but fractions of an inch. But if your backing is the exact same size as your top, you're going to notice that. So it's not stretched out of proportion at all, nothing like that. But the more seams you have, you've got all those little areas where you can have a little bit of stretching in that thread. And so just make your pieced backings larger than your quilt top so that we don't run into any of the extra strips that you might add on to the sides that really aren't part of your quilt that you wanted done. All right. For the pantograph, Sarah asked for Chantilly lace. This one we've talked about several times. This is like some scroll work, like iron scroll work. It is. It stitches out, so you have your swirl, it comes up and does the 3 loops and does another swirl, and then it does those same loops down. I like this one because it looks the same either direction you look at it, and it's symmetrical, I guess is what I want to say. It's symmetrical both from top and the bottom. Just a very nice, dainty pantograph. We did use a white thread on this one. There's a lot of white background fabric in the top. All of the fabrics are a little brighter, a little lighter, so the white was a good choice for this one. All right, I have a second quilt by Sara. Sara's second quilt is from Kitchen Table Quilting. The pattern is called Daphne, and Sara has chosen the one that is the 60 by 72, but this pattern comes in several sizes, all the way from baby all the way up to queen size, so it can be done in whatever size you need. She has used various fabrics from online quilt stores, but obviously it's all done in pinks and whites. So the block is made, they're just half square triangles is what the block is. Now notice some of the blocks are all pink half square triangles, 2 different fabrics obviously, and then some of them are pink and a white or a low volume print. And then the way that it is put together, you get those the diagonal lines going across the quilt. So cute. So a great stash buster if you want to clear out some of your fabrics. This is also very obviously a colored theme. The pattern on Kitchen Table Quilting website uses a variety of colors, so it can be done in different colorways, but Sara chose to do it in a 1 colorway. Very, very pretty. So for the backing fabric, she chose this light pink flannel. No pattern on there at all. It is a solid, just a light pink, very pretty, very soft and delicate. I again am doing the binding on this one, so I have it attached to the front, but have not finished doing the stitching onto the back. And again, she's done a striped binding. I love the interest that a gingham or a stripe has adds into a quilt. I just think that's so pretty. So for the pantograph on this one, this is called Saffron Blossom, and let me pull it in closer so you can see. Saffron Blossom, it has 3 petals, almost like a lily, I guess is what, like a water lily, is what it reminds me of sitting on the water. It has 3 petals that overlap just a tad bit, and then it does just a couple little leaves, kind of the same shape as the petal, and then it does the same flower block again. The same flower again. Very pretty. This one I did use a cream color thread on this one. The white was a little bright on these fabrics. I know we have a lot of pinks. We do have some white background, but you see even in the low volumes, some of them are a more cream color. The pinks are a little darker pinks, and so the cream color thread blended better than the white one did. Very nice. All right, let's move on to the next one. This is Jessica's quilt, and I don't have information on the pattern. I will get that and link that down below, but I don't have that with me right now. So this is very, very pretty. See the center star right here, and then again that repeats out. Again, this is all just half square triangles. It really, really is. So the batiks in the middle, you have some half square triangles with a batik and the black, and then again you have creating these different blocks. Some of them are 2 different batiks, and then some of them are the black and the batik. And then there is a little bit in the corner, and then you have a black sashing, and then it's the batiks in a box shape all the way around, like 5-inch squares all the way around, and then again repeated that solid black. This is a solid black, like a Kona black, very, very pretty. And then the back is the same black solid. So the pantograph on this one, so Jessica, there's special significance to this. She is giving this to a friend, and she asked if I had strawberries. So we found a strawberry pantograph, and this is so, so cute. Love the chunky strawberries on here. Just a really cute strawberry. Just real chunky. It has the little leaf on the top, and then it swirls around on to other strawberries. Now you will notice we also use a variegated thread, and this is so, so pretty on this solid black background. You can see all the colors. I did wind my own bobbins so that I have variegated on the back as well as on the quilt top, and so the variegated thread shows up really, really well on that black. Really like that. Just think that is so cute. The strawberries on there, this is called Strawberry Patch. The strawberries, smaller than my fist, but I didn't make them super small. Just a nice coverage on there, and just so, so pretty. Love the design. The batiks are nice and bright. That variegated thread looks really nice with the batiks, and just really like this. Again, it looks like a complicated quilt, but it's all half square triangles. So half square triangles, you can do the method where you layer a square of one color and the square of the other one, and you stitch on either side of that diagonal 1/4 inch away. When you cut that apart, then you're creating 2 of the same block. Half square triangles can also be created using Triangles on a Roll or Triangle Paper by Lisa Bonjean. Lots of different ways to make them, and I think the best way is to try different methods and pick the one that you like the best. I was discussing last week about the flying geese unit, whether you like to do the 4 at a time, do you like to do 1 at a time, and got lots of different comments. People talking about, I've tried all the different ways and I've settled on this one, or I've always done it the traditional way, or I tried the 4 way and love it. So I think the best way is to try them and then stick with what you like. It's not one way is perfect. I think every way has benefits and drawbacks, and I think it depends on your personal sewing style and how you enjoy what makes sense to you, what works for you, and go with that, and don't be ashamed of that. So lots of different ways to get to the same result, and that's the whole point of it. So Jessica's quilt is so cute. I did do the binding on this one as well. She just asked for the solid black binding. I like that. There was no reason to compete with the quilt on the middle by adding another color on the outside. We already have that black border all the way around. So I think that really is the frame of this one, and so the binding didn't need to be something different. I like the choice of the black. So, all right, let's move on. This is Sharon's wall hanging. This is so cute. So this is a panel. This has a couple of mature ladies, I will say, and just little sayings: friends through the thick and the thin. When we are old, we will have gray hair and not a care. They're in little curlers there. New hats, old friends, shop till you drop. Just lots of fabric related things, and the two mature ladies. So really, really cute. So she has fussy cut the panels and then added sashing in between. She does have a little bit of a pieced border just in the corners here with the purple. So a little, you see the little purple, the little purple border, and then the outside border has a little bit of different of that purple fabric in the corner and then green around the rest. I really like that. The backing fabric, she chose a purple, really, really fun, and then that shows off the pantograph really well. So in choosing a pantograph, wanted to do something a little dense because this is going to be a wall hanging, so the quilting looks really nice. So this pantograph is called Golden Curls. And so very intricate weaving back and forth. You can see that, and kind of reminded me, I just wanted something that had some texture on it. And in looking at the pictures on the front, kind of the curlers made me kind of think of the curls. But what also I thought, there was a show, and I don't remember the show. All I do is remember the name, called Golden Girls. When I was growing up, I know it was about a couple older ladies. Don't remember the show, not endorsing it at all, but I just kind of remember that name. And then with the ladies on here, and then the name of this pantograph being Golden Curls, it kind of reminded me of Golden Girls, and I just thought it was a fun one. So just wanted to add some texture in here. I did use a cream color thread so that I wasn't competing on the front with any of the panel. And the words and the pictures on the panel, I wanted to do something that was just going to blend in with those. But that does mean that it shows up pretty well on this dark purple background, which is fine. It's a wall hanging. You see lots of texture there. You can make this pantograph larger so that it's not quite so tight, and probably would do that on a larger quilt. But being a wall hanging, something that you wanted a lot of structure, it's going to be hanging on the wall. And just think this is really super cute. I don't know the panel. I can see if I can find out some information there. The fabric line kind of looks to me like some old Thimbleberries fabrics, and I know I have some others of Sharon's that have some Thimbleberry fabrics in it. So that's kind of what it reminds me of, kind of the purplish, the purple one especially reminds me of a Thimbleberries. So if I can find the panel, I will link that down below. So just as information, when I say that I'm linking something down below, underneath the video, there is a little bit of a description, and then it'll say more or something like that. When you click on that, then it drops down a whole list, and I include all of the pattern information that I have, all of the fabric information. I include information about the pantographs. Everything that I talk about, I try to include in that information down below so that you can read it there. I also do include links, which means if you click on those links, it will take you directly to that product on whatever website it's on. Some of those are affiliate links. If I have an affiliate connection with the shop, it doesn't cost you any more. It just means that they send me a little bit of a commission off of the purchase that you make. So it's the same way in my newsletters. So I send out a newsletter every weekend, and in that newsletter I recap the quilts, the pantographs, the fabrics, everything that I talk about on my videos is then done in written form in my newsletter, along with some other stuff that I share. But it's shared in my newsletter, and you'll notice in my newsletter that there are yellow, some of the words are in yellow when I talk about Thimbleberries fabric. If that's in yellow, that is a link that you can click, and it again will take you to that product on a website. So just for your information there, so if you are looking for a certain pattern, wanting to know a certain pantograph, those are the best ways to find it. You can send me an email or comment, and I will get to those, but it may be a little faster to actually just hit the link. It takes me a little bit to get through the comments each week on YouTube. So just some information for you there. All right, I have another one of Sharon's. And this cute little, oh, this is probably going to be a table topper. This is done in Christmas fabrics. I love the blue and the red. Isn't that pretty? Because this doesn't necessarily have to be Christmas. You could keep this out through the winter time. I think it, you know, it does say Silent Night. It does say Merry Peace. It does say Merry Christmas in some of these wording fabrics. But I think this would be very appropriate to keep out during the winter months as well. So I don't know the fabric line. I'll see if I can find it. The blue and the red border, the blue that you see in some of these squares and the red border is the same print. It's just done in different fabrics. It does look like it's all a coordinating fabric line, so I'll try to find that. So the blocks here, we have 9 patches in the 5 checkerboard. Those are all 9 patches. And then the alternating blocks just have a little bit of a strip of the blue, and then it's changed in different directions. So let me hold this up. So on this block, there's a little strip of blue here and here. On this block down here, little strip of blue here and here. So it kind of changes up that square feel. It almost makes it look a little oblong or connecting in, you know, however you want to say. And then just the red border, and then another blue border around the edge. And then the backing is a blue, almost like a Christmas flower type of cool feel, the blue aqua feel. So for the pantograph, I used a new one. This is called Flurries. I'll see if you can see it. So it's got a couple of snowflakes within the swirls in between. These snowflakes are pretty intricate. So you can see they've got tight points to them and little round circles, very crystallized look to the snowflakes. So there's one up here, and then there's another one almost like, kind of looks like an old jack, like if you ever played jacks as a kid. Kind of has that feel with a little bit of a ball at the end of the points on some of them. I like this one. When you're doing something small like a wall hanging or a table topper, I think it's nice to add some good texture to it. And so wanted to keep with the whole wintry theme, the snowy theme. And so I like this pantograph for this. So I did use a white thread. You've got some white background fabrics there in those squares. The white blends very well. This is a busy backing, so you're not going to see the white thread. It blends in with those fabrics as well. Just super cute. So this one measured 20, nope, wrong one. This one measured 24 by 24. This could even be made into a pillow, something like that. Really cute. So this is Lisa's quilt. This is made for her grandson. This really almost takes on the effect of a whole cloth quilt because it's basically one fabric around the middle. So how it's done is this is an embroidered block with his name on it, and then a little bit of this. All of this print is the same, but a little bit of square added over here, a longer rectangle over here, and then you add in the other pieces on the top and the bottom so it has one continuous feel for the middle. There is a light inner border that's just a tad bit darker than the middle. It's just a little bit of a tan, and then the evergreen border around the edge. Then the edge that you're seeing here is actually the backing fabric. I haven't cut that off yet. So I cut it off the long arm, but I still need to trim it up right to the edge, and then I'm going to be doing the binding on this one as well. The binding will be the same solid green color that you see on the edges, and then the backing fabric is that same evergreen color. The pantograph I chose for this one, this is for a little boy. Again, on a whole cloth quilt, I like a lot of texture. I want to really fill in those negative spaces. So this one, I believe, is called Circles and Squares. Again, I will link it down below underneath Lisa's information, just so that you get the right one. But I love the texture on this, especially on the front. on the back it shows up really well because you see the thread color on top of that green, but I even like it more when you don't see the thread color, that you're just seeing the texture of it. I really, really like this. So I thought this went well for a boy, added a lot of texture, but thinking construction or primary type shapes and that kind of thing. So one row is circular, almost like a Baptist fan, but not quite, because it has like you start the little circle here, and then it echoes that circle around a couple times, and you have a row of that, and then in between that and the next circle row is a square row, and it's set on point so that they fit in there together. But again, it comes in and it does the square, and then it kind of echoes itself back out, but then at the edge of it, it's repeating that the circle shape underneath. I really like this pantograph. You see that? When it's stitching this out, it's actually stitching both the circular row and the square row below it as one unit. So you're not trying to fit in those points of the square up inside the circular part. That's all done in the stitching. So the row actually starts at the top of the circle and it ends down here on the bottom side of that square. So really all you're doing is nesting the circle shape up into the circle that's left at the bottom of the square, if that makes sense. So very easy to line up. There's no specific points. You're not trying to line up that point inside the other circle. The circle and the square stitch out in the same row. Really like this. So this thread is a cream color. This is a cream color fabric. So the cream color thread blended really well. Love the texture on that. Love, love, love. All right, let's move on to the next one. This is my third quilt by Sharon this week, and again, quilting does not have to be difficult. These look like 5-inch squares, maybe 6-inch squares. It does look like a lot of Thimbleberries fabric. If you remember Lynette Jensen of Thimbleberries, I noticed my husband even came in and said, that looks like one of your first quilts. And it does, because that's who I learned with, was Thimbleberries, Lynette Jensen. Loved her fabrics, and I have bags that I made out of cloth bags that I used to carry things in. Just loved her stuff. So I don't know if all of these are Lynette Jensen. I do notice some of them are. You do have some ginghams in here, some homespun type look, and that may be hers as well. I'm not sure. So all just done, laid out in squares, and a very pleasing quilt. What I also love is she chose this brown Minky for the back. Just could pet Minky all day long. So this one measures, let me find 50 by 60. And so if they're 5-inch squares, that would be a 10 by 12. Very easy to figure out. So the pantograph on this one is called Alfalfa. I didn't write it down, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was. It's called Alfalfa. I think you can see it best on the Minky on the back. I like this pantograph. I think it has a touch of a traditional feel to it. It nests well together. To me, it just feels a little more traditional, and I don't know why. But so it has a swirl, but as it kicks out the swirl, and it has just 2 little leaves, and then it comes in, does a swirl, and 2 little leaves on the other side. It nests well together. You can make this as big or as small as you like. If you're somebody that doesn't like a lot of texture, you just want a lot of open space, this is one that you can blow up a lot bigger, and it'll add a lot of openness in there, but still doing a good coverage. I like that one. I just like this pantograph on this type of a quilt. Some more of these traditional fabrics, I think it looks really nice. I did use a pretty dark thread on this one, so it was not even a cream, almost a brown color thread. The fabrics on the front are dark, so you can see like this brown print here, this very taupey print. The thread is just a tad bit darker than that. Not quite, well, it's almost pretty close to the backing. Again, on Minky, you're not going to see my thread on the Minky because it soaks into that, but it's about that same color on the front, and it just blends right in. And I think that way you're really getting to see the fabrics of this one and not overpowering it with the pantograph. If I would have used a lighter color thread, then you really would have noticed the pantograph, and I just didn't want that to be noticed. I really want you to see the fabrics and just the more traditional feel. This kind of feels like you'd be laying on a bed in a log cabin or something like that, and just wanted the darker thread to blend in and not be a distraction on the top. This is Maggie's quilt, and this is a pattern called Block Star. This is by Missouri Star Quilt Company, and this is one of those that the more you look at it, the more you see. You know, it's just very intricate. You kind of turn your eye a little different way and you can see a different design. So you can very much see the stars, but I also sometimes get a secondary effect sometimes when I look at this. So I haven't seen the pattern itself, but in looking at the block, what it looks like to me is you have a center white square. So the block, let me show you, the block is right here. It's not, the block is not your star. The block is right here. So you have this section, this yellow section of this star, and this darker section of this star is the block. So how it's done is this white square right here, you see that? That white square right here is the center of the block. Then there's a long rectangle of yellow, a long rectangle of yellow, a long rectangle of the dark blue and of the dark blue. Then it looks like a sew and flip or an easy corner triangle, whatever you want to say, in the white is added onto the opposite corners. And then that creates this block right here. So this would need to be laid out pretty well because you want your blue star, you want your green star, you want your orangey yellow star. So you're going to have to match up the prints from this one with the one that you want over here. So very interesting because it's not what it looks like from the distance. A scrap buster. She said she used miscellaneous from her stash. I love this. It doesn't look like a scrappy quilt because it's coordinated. It's planned scrappy. So you have your oranges and you have your reds and then tans and blues and reds. So very, very pretty. The outside edge then, this is done scrappy as well. So these are half square triangles, but notice the half square triangles have different fabrics in it. So like right here, there's the tiniest little bit of red on the corner of this blue print. Some of them have a couple different. Here is a blue with a melon color. Great scrap buster. So you don't have enough for a whole half square triangle. You piece some fabrics together and then join them. And so the opposite side is all white. Great stash buster. So you can see this one has like 4 different, those are 2 different blocks, but like 4 different fabrics right there. And some of the fabrics are very, very tiny. This one, this block here, here's your block. It has purple right here, red right here. That may be part of that purple print. It's just got some red in it, and that is all around the edge. There is a white sashing, and then that pieced border, and then this outside blue border. What I like about this is like a sunflower print, but even the print itself kind of looks like those star blocks in the middle of the quilt. That's really, really cute. And it's a dark blue with the white sunflower print on it. The backing fabric, I don't have information about this, but it's like a black, kind of flowers, but a little bit of orange and blue, just very faint, like watercolor type faint in the background of it. For the pantograph for this one, Maggie asked for Moulin Rouge. I love this pantograph. Kind of chunky swirls, and then it has a little bit of echoing. It has a little bit of circles in there as well. I really like this one. Let me pull it in. Hopefully you can see it on the white there. I just love this one. I just think it's a hint towards traditional because it's got a little bit of the swirls, a little bit of the feather type look, but then you add in a little bit of interest with the circles on the edge, and it's kind of chunky in some spots on the feather parts. The swirl does come into a point, but doesn't repeat itself. It kind of swirls out a little bit. I just think it's a really fun pantograph. Did use a cream color thread on this one. So on the white, it does show up as some texture. It's a little darker if you get in close and look at it. But with all the other colors on here, I thought cream was a better fit. The dark background, I thought cream was a better fit. Very fun. Very fun. This would be a great scrap buster. So if I can find this pattern, I will link that down below. Again, that is a Missouri Star Quilt Company pattern. And this measures 66 by 80, so a really nice size quilt. All right, here is the next one. This quilt is Maggie's second quilt, and this is called Blooming 9-Patch. It's from the book Tradition with a Twist by Blanche Young and Deline Young Stone. Maggie says she used fabrics from her stash. Incredible. This almost gives me the feel of kaleidoscope type thing. This is so intricate. But when you break it down, it's really not that hard. It is set on point, but it is alternating blocks. These are 9-patch right here. I don't know if you can see that. It's a 9-patch. The center is a 9-patch alternated with 1 block. The whole quilt is that way. It's a 9-patch and a solid block, and a 9-patch and a solid block. It's all set on point, so it does work in the directional. So let me pull this in close so you can see the 9 patches. Maybe easier to see. These are all batiks, graduating from the brownish tones in the middle, the tan tones, to your oranges, to a little more of a reddish and green, to the green, all the way to the blue on the edge. Incredible. So let me pull this in right here. You can see here's a solid block and here's a 9-patch. Here's a solid block and then a 9-patch. And so you're moving from the oranges, the yellows and the oranges, to then here we have a little more of the green in there. This one's getting a little darker, and then this one, we're adding in the green into our 9-patch, and then the next block is the solid green. And then over here, we're adding in the blue into the 9-patch along with that green, and then we have the solid blue in the 9-patch. And then here the 9-patch had some darker blue with that batik, and then the edge is setting triangles all in that darker blue. So it is just alternating 9 patches and in a solid block, but the way the fabrics gradiate from one to the other, again, would have to be laid out. You'll need a big design board or a big bed to lay this out on to get all those straight, but just incredible. Incredible. So the piecing itself is not going to be difficult. It's going to be in the layout of this one. And I love patterns like that are intriguing, and they look so intricate and just absolutely beautiful. Really, really pretty. Maggie did put a green minky on the back. That is so pretty, very rich feel to the green of this one. So then you can see the pantograph on the back. It's going to be a lot easier to see on the back than it is on the front of that quilt. This one is called Diamond Scroll and Feathers. Again, a lot of scroll work. I didn't make this fairly large, so one row, it goes from here up to here, so a good 7-8 inches tall. There's so much on the front. It's very intricate on the front. I didn't want to quilt this one to death because there's already so much going on the front. The feather work, the diamond scroll and feathers, again looks a lot like ironwork, like an iron fence. It has the feather type motif on the top, some swirls in, a little drop there, diamond, and just very, very pretty. Very rich feel to this one. The thread on this one, I did use a gray thread. The very center of this, you have a little bit of lighter print, so you do see the design on that. With the rest of the feel of the feel of the rest of this quilt was a very a little muted and darker, so I felt gray was better than doing a cream. And again, you're not going to see that on the back, but I just felt like the whole quilt just felt more muted, and so a gray worked really well on this one. Again, it's only in the center that you really can see it, especially once you get out to the edges of this one. The quilting color just blends in really well. So that is Maggie's quilt. Again, I don't know if I mentioned, the size on this one is 74 by 85, a really nice size quilt. Love the minky on the back. That gives it a nice weight as well. This is going to be beautiful on a bed. Love this quilt. This is Lisa's quilt, and this is called Chex Mix. This is a pattern by Holt, and Lisa said she did this all as leaders and enders. So leaders and enders means when you are working on another project and you get to the end of your piecing of that project and you need to run just a small bit of fabric through your machine just to keep your tension even, just to save on thread, and so you're not pulling that piece out and cutting a long piece of thread. You can run another piece of fabric right behind your other piecing, and instead of just running a scrap piece, you can do a leaders and enders project. So Lisa said the middle of all of these squares, the Chex part is all from her stash, just leftovers. They are all 1.5 inch squares. So if you cut your scraps into 1.5 inch squares and then stack them by color, some blocks, it's all the same. So this yellow one right here, every fabric in there, all the yellow fabrics are the same. This yellow one has a variety of yellow fabrics, so it doesn't have to be all of one. You're just putting the similar colors together. And then you have low volume prints as well. And so when you're cutting, when you have scraps of low volumes, whether it's white or a little bit of a print, you cut those into your 1.5 inch squares too, and you have those sitting next to your sewing machine. So when you're working on a project, a larger quilt, say you're working on something else, and then you get to the end of that piecing and you need to just grab one low volume, one colored, and run that through, and then you go on with your piecing of your other stuff. And eventually you get a quilt this size. So Lisa says there are 99 squares, 2,475 pieces without the frames. So then what she did after creating the Chex Mix block, she then framed each one of them. And I like how she's done this. They're very similar pattern, very similar colors, but the fabric on this one is a green, and then the fabric on this one is a floral green, and then she's alternated that all the way along the quilt, and then she's done the more solid looking green as a border around the edge. She says that fabric is, let me see, all scrap except for the block frames and the border, which is Wyndham's Poppy Field and Poppy Love Letter. So Poppy Field would be the floral one, And Poppy Love Letter is what reads more as a solid. It does have some words on it, very light, like a tone on tone in a green, but these are the same colorways, and so it looks very harmonious. The whole quilt does. On the backing, she chose a minky, this green minky. Very pretty, very, very fun. And then you can see the pantograph fairly well. We wanted to do something a little more traditional. We kind of threw around the idea of doing Baptist fan, decided not to do that. We kind of looked at some others, and I sent this one to her. This is Christie's Crop Circles. So I think it has a little bit of a modern feel to it, but still hinting towards that Baptist fan look. I like this one. I like this pantograph. It really adds a lot of texture again. It nests up well with row upon row, and I just think it's really, really fun. Again, a kind of a hint to the traditional, but being still modern in its own way as well. The thread color on this one is a cream color. Variety of fabric colors. So the cream just was a good choice. Not too bright, not too dark, kind of that happy medium. I love this one. So it ends up measuring 72 by 86. I just think this is so fun. I am working on my own Chex Mix. I need to count how many blocks I have because I'm working on this one all the time when I'm doing other piecing. And I need to see how many blocks I actually have. I may have enough to put it into a quilt by this time. I'm not sure. But so fun, Lisa. Really like this one. And my final quilt today is by Sue, and this one has a special story to it. So Sue created this quilt for a friend of hers. Her friend's husband passed away, and so Sue has taken all of her husband's Hawaiian shirts and put them into a quilt for her friend. So special. So she used the quilt pattern called the Iris Quilt by Erica Jackman. Again, set on point, very pretty. Do you see all the fabrics? There's even some Chicago Cubs shirts in here, all different kinds. And then she set that with a little bit of a mint color square, again, all set on point, very, very nice. For the backing fabric, it also has special significance. Sue said she created the backing to include the husband's logo, and then she had it printed at Spoonflower. So the husband who passed away, he had evidently a Gourmet Foods. It says Chef Ron's Gourmet Foods. So she used the label and then added some fruits and vegetables, some cooking utensils. Even in the background, you can kind of see it says pepper and tomato in the backing part of the fabric. And then she had this printed off. So this is a one-of-a-kind fabric right there. That's going to have special significance to her friend as well. So you'll notice this one has a double layer of batting, and so that's why it appears very poofy. It has a layer of, I believe the bottom layer was 80/20. Sue sent me the batting, and that one wasn't in a package. But then the top layer is wool. It is Quilter's Dream wool. So we layered the two on top of each other, and that's what gives it that poofy look to it. For the pantograph on this one, this is called Rainbow Hearts. So it does have that Baptist fan look, but then we switch things up by adding the heart in the center of it. You'll also notice the thread color. So Sue asked if I would use a mint green color, and that's what this is, both on the top and on the back. Really like that. It adds a little more dimension to the whites because you see that color pop out, but with the Hawaiian shirts and the brightness and the fun feel of those shirts, then a colored thread was really fun as well. So you can see that on the backing fabric also. So because we're doing a double layer of batting, I didn't do this pantograph super tight. I mean, the heart is a little smaller than my fist, but then you have a good inch between the rows of the rainbow, going over it. And so wanted that poofiness to pop out there, and really like it. This is the first time I've ever done a double layer. Had no trouble with it. You do need to make sure that you're smoothing out both layers of batting when you rotate the quilt, just so you don't get any ripples in there of especially that batting that's on the underneath side. But a really neat effect, and it worked really well. So you might want to try that on your own long arm as well. This one is very large. It measured 81 by 100. The double layer of batting and then the materials, it makes for a very heavy quilt. This one is super heavy. And so I'll be sending that back to Sue so she can get that to her friend very soon. And those are all my quilts for this week. I am so glad that you've been here with me. If you are in need of long arm quilting services, my information is down below on how you can get a hold of me and get that to me. And I'd love to work with you on finishing up your quilts. And I will be back here next week, because every quilt is worth finishing. We'll see you then.